All right, it's important that we nail down some terminology, and also that we talk about not only what is a gene and what is a chromosome, but how those things relate to each other and how they relate to the DNA molecule that we've been discussing. Let's start with the genes. Remember that we've said that DNA is the instruction manual for the cell, and it's stored in the nucleus of the cell. That's what makes the nucleus the control center, as you learned when you were younger. A single DNA molecule might contain 20,000 different instructions. Now, these instructions can be instructions that are really common to almost all living things, such as an instruction for how to use an oxygen molecule to extract energy out of sugar. So that means molecules that govern the process of cellular respiration. DNA will code for that. It will carry instructions for that. A gene is one of those instructions, one of those 20,000 in a single DNA molecule. So I gave you the oxygen and sugar example. Other examples might include a gene, for instance, that tells the body how to make the molecule that we call insulin. A different gene would be an instruction that would tell the body how to make the molecules that cause our eyes to have a particular color. So a gene is an instruction carried in the DNA. Now, single DNA molecules are normally not visible to the naked eye, not even visible under a microscope. They're just too thin and long and diffuse to be seen. However, they coil up right before they copy themselves. They wind up on top of themselves. And they coil up so tightly that they actually become visible under a microscope, even under a high school microscope. At this stage, we call these chromosomes. So a chromosome is a single strand of DNA that has coiled up tightly on top of itself, becoming visible under a microscope. All right, let's have a look at this diagram. Hopefully that will help us to be a little bit clearer. First of all, a gene is a segment of a DNA molecule that forms one specific instruction, such as make insulin or make a blue eye. One DNA molecule will coil up to form a structure that kind of looks like a sausage, and this structure is called a chromosome. The chromosomes will begin to appear right before the DNA begins to copy itself or replicate. And all of this is happening in the nucleus of the cell. All right, new word, alleles. Alleles are different forms of the same instruction. So they're forms of the same gene because the gene is the instruction. An individual will get 2 copies of every gene. They will get 1 copy from their mother and 1 copy from their father. And that's true whether that individual is an ash tree or a human being or an African elephant or a sea cucumber. The version of the gene that you get from each parent could be the same, or it could be different. And these are the alleles. So let me give you an example that has nothing to do with genetics. Suppose that you walk into the DPA for an assembly. At the door of the DPA, you are given 2 different instructions. Mr. Whiting is standing there and he tells you to take a seat on the left-hand side of the DPA. But Mr. Catterson is also standing there, and he tells you to take a seat on the right-hand side of the DPA. Now, you've got a problem. If Catterson had said the same thing as Whiting, that being, go sit on the left, then you wouldn't have any problem. You could just follow the instruction and go sit on the left. But they've given you two different instructions. So what are you going to do? Which teacher are you going to listen to? Take a second and write that down in the margin. I'll ask you about it in class. So the gene is the instruction, which way to turn. The alleles are the specifics of the instruction. Turn left or turn right. You could get the same instruction twice, turn left, in which case that's easy. Or you could get two different instructions, one saying turn right and the other one saying turn left. Now you're going to have to decide which instruction is the dominant instruction. Which one are you going to listen to? Again, I'll ask you in class. Write it down in your margin.